going on, everyone? Welcome back to another trout fishing tips video here at the channel. Today we're going to go through the best spinner setup for trout fishing, starting with the rod and reel, going through the best line to use, and all the gear tips that you need to catch more trout with spinners. So starting with the rod and reel that I like to use for spinner trout fishing, what I've got here is an Okuma SST. It's a 7'6" rod. It's ultralight, rated for 2 to 6 pounds. When you're casting spinners for trout, you want to make sure you feel that bite. So that ultralight rod is going to allow you to feel that bite and set the hook a lot easier, and it's going to help you get more trout hookups along the way. Now, the reason I like the 7'6" is it has good distance and height to have really good castability really far. And that's important because with spinner fishing, you want to be able to cover a lot of ground and a lot of different depths in the water. And being able to cast out spinners a little bit farther than maybe anybody else that's out on the lake or pond could be the difference that's going to help you catch more trout. Now, what I've got here from a reel is the ROX 30, and I really like this reel because it has smooth castability. You can put a lot of line on it, and it has a really nice 5:1 gear ratio and a really nice retrieval with spinners. The retrieval is super smooth, and depending on whether you're retrieving slow, medium, fast, really fast, this reel allows you to be able to change up your speeds and target trout in different bodies of water, whether you're on a lake, whether you're on a pond, little stream, maybe on a river. This is a really smooth reel, and it goes really well with the line choice for spinners. Now, what I've got here for line is 10-pound Berkeley braided green line. And the reason why I'm going with 10-pound braided is for a couple reasons. One, it casts really smooth out of the rod and the reel, and you're able to cast it a little bit farther than, say, mono or fluorocarbon for trout. And I love the braided because you can cast out a little bit farther. It gives you a little bit more water to cover and a lot more distance than a lot of other people may be fishing out there. The other reason I love the braided line is because it's super durable and it has a lot of give. So when you get a fish hookup, it's gonna have a little bit less resistance, but you're also gonna feel the bite really easily. And that's important because when you hook up or feel that bite, you wanna set the hook, and this line is gonna allow you to feel that bite really easily. Now, from my 10-pound braided main line, I tie right into a swivel. And what this swivel will allow you to do is to interchange your spinners really easy instead of having to cut them off and retie different spinners. This will save you a lot of time, and you'll be able to make a lot more casts with the swivel here on the spinners. And the other reason that I like the swivel is because it twists, which means you'll get less line twist when you've got the swivel here. If you just tie your main line to the spinner, you're gonna get line twist, which is gonna wreak havoc at some point when you're either hooking a fish or you're trying to cast out there. Everything's gonna get jarbled up. So tie your main line right into the swivel and then go right into your spinner. And what I've got here is one of my favorites, which is the gold watermelon color from Yakima Bait Rooster Tail. From a simple setup, rod, reel, line, a little swivel, right down to your spinner, you've got the ultimate spinner setup to help you catch more trout and be able to cast farther and cover a lot more water. And when you're able to cover a lot more water with spinners, you're gonna increase your ratio and your potential to get more trout hookups. Now, that's what I'll call my standard spinner setup. And I go to that setup the majority of time that I'm trout fishing with spinners. Attach the main line to the swivel with the spinner, and you're off just casting and working a lot of water along the bank or from the boat. But here's an additional way to set up your spinner setup that'll help you cast a little bit farther, cover a little bit more water, and help you hook up and land more trout. So for this setup, you're actually adding weight to your main line that allow you to cast smaller spinners. When you get down to 1/6 of an ounce, 1/8 of an ounce, or even smaller, those spinners can be really tough to cast in a little bit of wind, and you're only able to cast them out a certain distance. Now, what I've got for my additional spinner setup here is I got a little bullet sliding weight with a little 4mm bead down to a swivel and then some extra line down to the spinner. And what this setup allows you to do for your smaller spinners is it adds a little weight to your setup to allow you to cast those smaller spinners. Now, this is one of my new go-to spinner tips, and because you've got this additional weight set up for your smaller spinners, you're able to cast them out a little bit farther, and you're able to get those smaller spinners in different locations and different depths in the water to help you find where the trout are. In the springtime and even in the fall, the trout may not want to go after those big 1/4 ounce spinners. They're actually going to want to go after something or a bait that's a little bit smaller of a presentation. But the smaller spinners, you only have a limited distance to cast those with your rod and reel. However, With the sliding weight setup here, whether you add an 1/8 of an ounce, say 3/16 of an ounce, or even a 1/4 of an ounce, you're able to cast those smaller spinners out a lot farther, and you're able to get them in different distances and depths in the water position to find those trout. That way, you're able to cover a lot more water, and by covering a lot more water, you're gonna be able to find out where those fish are and fish a lot of different areas in the lake, pond, stream, or river that you're fishing that other anglers may not be able to get after because they've got smaller spinners and they're not able to cast into those areas. So consider with your additional spinner setup to add a little bit of a weight to a bead, to a swivel here. This tip has allowed me to catch a few additional trout over the last couple years that I might not have caught in years prior. So instead of saying maybe I get 1 or 2 bites and 1 or 2 fish a day, I've gotten 3 or 4, or maybe even 5 because I've gone to this weighted spinner setup. And I would highly recommend that, especially if you're fishing with smaller spinners and you're not hooking up anything and you're seeing maybe other people catch trout in the area that you're at. Add some additional weight and be able to cast out a little bit farther, change your depths, and you will find more trout and increase your hookup and your land ratio for trout. And that is my best trout fishing spinner setup. I hope you guys got some tips, techniques, and learned about the gear to help you catch more trout with spinners. It's one of my favorite bites and time to fight a fish. I just love spinner fishing, and I hope this setup helps you fall in love with spinner fishing as well. So hit that like button on the video, subscribe if you love trout fishing tips, and other outdoor content. And as always, guys, the outdoors is a gift. Share it with others.